Alright folks, right here I've got three brand new SD70ACe locomotives. They're made by Lionel, and we're going to check them out right now on Eric's Trains. So I picked these up last week over at Legacy Station in Lilburn, Georgia. That's the local train store here that I buy most of my trains from. Up on top, we've got a Santa Fe SD70. In the middle, we've got a Kansas City Southern SD70. And below that, we've got a Central of Georgia SD70. Now, the KCS and the Santa Fe SD70s, these are from Lionel's 2021 Volume 1 catalog, I believe. The Central of Georgia SD70 was a custom run that was done by Legacy Station. I think they did 25 of them. I don't know if they have any left. They might have one or two. If you want one, you might want to call them sooner rather than later. Anyway, so for today's unboxings from my knife collection, we'll be using this knife. This is the Drop Point Robeson Heirloom knife made by Ontario Knife Company. It's a beautiful knife. Check that out. So, we'll start on top with the Santa Fe SD70. Let me move these off to the side for just a moment. So here's the box label, Santa Fe Legacy SD70ACe, number 1995, with an OBS date of 7/30/2021. Alright, so there's the box tag. Santa Fe Legacy SD70ACe number 1995. Legacy and Bluetooth control, Legacy rail sounds, fan-driven smoke, LED lighting, and 036 minimum curve. Now, the Santa Fe was an extra pickup. When the catalog came out, I actually ordered only the Kansas City Southern SD70. And then, of course, I ordered the Central of Georgia Custom Run SD70 when Legacy Station decided to produce it. But when I got to the train store last week, they had a whole bunch of the new SD70s. And so I sort of had to go through a process of picking out which one I wanted to get in addition to the two that I was already going to get. And it came down to the Santa Fe and the Atlantic Coastline, and ultimately I went with the Santa Fe. And actually I ended up asking my girlfriend which one I should get, the Santa Fe or the ACL, and she said, well, the ACL's paint scheme kind of looked sort of similar to Central of Georgia, so she said she would get the Santa Fe, and that's what we went with. You can't ever go wrong with Santa Fe, especially that war bonnet paint scheme. And there we go. Yeah, like I said, you can't ever go wrong with the war bonnet paint scheme. It's gorgeous any way you look at it. That looks great. Alright, next we've got the Kansas City Southern SD70. This is the Saluting Heroes version. So it's got some text on it to salute heroes. There's the box tag. Kansas City Southern Legacy SD70ACe number 4009, OBS date 7/30/2021. And this one looks really sharp. They had all of these on display at Legacy Station, so you could see how each one looked. And I said that I narrowed it down, like for the extra one that I was going to buy, I narrowed it down to ACL or Santa Fe. Well, they also had B&O, they had Boston and Maine, and a couple others. That's why ultimately I got that Santa Fe version. But let's check out this KCS version. This one's really cool. And there it is. So it's in Spanish on that side, and then English on this side. Resilient and essential, saluting KCS heroes. Got a little bent handrail here. I'll just bend that back. I probably bent it myself when I was taking it out of the box. Believe it or not, I've heard that sometimes customers will freak out and want to return an engine just because it's got a bent handrail, and it's like, just go like that and fix it. It's not a big deal. Anyway, yeah, that looks fantastic. I like the fact that it has Spanish and English. Very cool and very indicative of Kansas City Southern. And lastly, let's open up the Central of Georgia SD70ACe. So there's the box tag, Central of Georgia Legacy SD70ACe, number 1833, OBS date 7/30/2021. And you can see it says Legacy Station Custom. And as I said, this was a custom run. I believe they did 25 of them, so not that many. I think they might have a few left though, so if you want one, you can give them a call and see if they have any left. All right. And there she is. Absolutely gorgeous. This thing looks great. And of course, the Central of Georgia and Santa Fe SD70s, those are fantasy paint schemes. But yeah, they're super cool. All right, here they are on the track, and man, do these things look good. You know, there's just something about the SD70. In my mind, it's really one of the most attractive diesel locomotives ever made. I don't know why, I just love the way these things look, and they're really one of my overall favorite diesel locomotives ever. That and the ES44, those are probably my two overall favorites, just because they always look so fantastic and they take a paint job so well. I've got well over 30 SD70s in my collection and probably just as many ES44s. And what can I say? They just never get old. I never get tired of them. So the length of one of these from end to end, not including the couplers, is right at 18¼ inches. The weight is 5 pounds, 3 ounces. Now, before I tested the pulling power, my guess was going to be 2 pounds, 10 ounces. And it looks like I'm pretty good at guessing pulling power these days, because when tested, these things had 2 pounds, 11 ounces of pulling power, which is pretty good. And then, as you saw on the box lid, the minimum curve needed to operate one of these SD70s is 0.36, which is nice. It means you can run one of these if you've got a small layout with tight curves, although I would imagine that if you run one of these on 0.36 curves, it's going to look pretty weird. Of course, on the inside, these things have all LED lighting. There's a fan-driven smoke unit for the smokestack. There are 2 flywheel motors, one above each truck, and then you've got legacy rail sounds, legacy control, and Bluetooth on board. And that, of course, means there's 5 ways to operate these locomotives. The best way is going to be to use Lionel's legacy command system, as that will give you access to all of this model's advanced features and functions. However, you can also use Lionel's classic TMCC command system, although that won't give you quite as many cool functions as Legacy will. You can use Lionel's Lion Chief app on your smartphone or tablet if you want to, or you can use the Lion Chief Universal Remote if you happen to have one of those. And finally, you can operate one of these conventionally with nothing more than a transformer and some track, just like your granddad used to do. Going in for a closer look at some of the details on this model, you can see on the front here we've got these nice coupler cut bars and then the MU hoses on both sides of the coupler. As you can see, the cab area looks spectacular. We've got these add-on metal grab irons everywhere. There are add-on windshield wipers on the windows. We've got lighted number boards up here and a headlight. The windows on the sides of the cab open and close. They're not the most elegant things in the world, but they do work and they look really nice. And then we've got this little windscreen that folds out here. Very cool. And then we've got 2 hand-painted crew figures on the inside of the cab. Always nice to see that. Here in the middle, we've got some nice vent work. We've got metal handrails and some nice detail molded into the body of the locomotive. And then all the walkways have safety tread on them, which is always nice. And toward the back, we've got this really cool add-on brake wheel here. There's some of the legible signage that's all over this locomotive. And then we've got nice see-through metal vents here and here. And here's a look at the back side. Lots of add-on metal grab irons, another safety chain here, and a backup light in the middle. Here's a quick shot of the steps on one of these SD70ACes, and I always like how they have these drainage holes in the steps. It's a little touch, but it's so cool. Up on top here's the smokestack and the horn, and of course to load smoke fluid into the smoke unit, you simply pour smoke fluid directly down the stack. Further back, this piece can be removed to reveal the master controls for the engine. And by the way, the blades inside these fan housings are free spinning, so if you blow some air on them, they spin. Pretty cool. Anyway, here's one of the 2 flywheel motors that drive this engine. And then right here, we've got 3 control switches. The top one is the run program switch that you use to program the locomotive into your legacy system. Below that, we've got the Bluetooth on-off switch. And then below that, we've got the smoke unit on-off switch. And then, of course, when you're done, this piece snaps back on very carefully, like that. And check out these cool lift rings. They're all over the place on this model. On the underside of this locomotive, the speaker for the sound system is right here in the middle. Next to that is the sensor for the Lionel LCS sensor track, if you choose to use one. We've got 4 pickup rollers, 2 per truck. The inner 2 axles of each truck are driven. The outer axle is free spinning. And then on the inner axle of each truck, there are 2 traction tires for a total of 4. All right, now it's time for BFIMO, best feature in my opinion. Well, my favorite feature on these SD70ACes is a little known new feature called model swap. So let me show you how that works. On my legacy remote, you can see it says KCS SD70ACe and the road number is 4009. Well, also in the 2021 Volume 1 catalog, alongside this KCS SD70, Lionel offered a Boston and Maine SD70 that I did not get. Well, check this out. If I go into here and I type in the model number of the Boston and Maine SD70 in the slot for the KCS SD70, watch what happens. So 2133341. Wow. Check that out. How cool is that? That's awesome. And check out my legacy remote. It now says Boston and Maine SD70ACe with a road number of 1835. That's awesome. Now, as cool as that is, and yeah, that's super cool, that's not the best part. I've discovered a bug in the model swap feature, and watch what I can do if I restore a backup of the KCS SD70 and put back in the model number, which is 2133300. Watch what happens. Bam! Wow, I just got a free SD70 because of a bug in some software. How cool was that? So yeah, best feature, definitely the new model swap feature, no doubt. All right, the last thing we're going to do before we start these things up is the first installment of a new segment called WMGFT, What My Girlfriend Thinks. So you were with me when we went over to Legacy Station to pick these up, and then we were thinking about getting the Boston and Maine, but then through that software bug in the Legacy system, we ended up getting it anyway for free. But which one of these do you prefer, and maybe tell us why?
So I really like the color scheme of the Central of Georgia, especially that orange with the dark blue. Mm-hmm. But my favorite out of all of them has to be the Santa Fe.
I see.
It's just unique.
It does look really cool. You can't ever go wrong with that Santa Fe design. That war bonnet paint scheme is really nice. So there you have it. We surveyed my girlfriend, and 100% of those surveyed preferred the Santa Fe. All right, with all that said, let's go ahead and start one of these up and check out the sounds and so forth.
Dispatcher here. Start her up. Stand by for track orders. Over. Yes, sir. We'll fire her up. Out.
Nothing like the sound of an SD70, and I really like the way that Lionel has improved the Crew Talk sounds in the last year or so. I've said that a few times now, but it's true. If you listen to the Crew Talk in the newer Lionel locomotives, it's much more gritty and realistic, I think. Anyway, let's check out the horn. like most new Lionel locomotives, this does have a selection of 5 different horns. So you just heard the default horn. Here's number 2. Number 3. Number 4. And number 5. And back to the default. And you get 5 bell sounds as well. So here's the default bell. Here's bell number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. And back to the default. And here's a sampling of some of those crew talk sounds.
This is the dispatcher. Please stand by. Over. Roger. Standing by. Out. This is the dispatcher. Take the crate. Over. Thank you much. Cleared outbound. Out. Yeah, I'm over here in the crate on 4. Dispatcher, we're ready. Is it okay to pull? Over. Take the crate. Out. What are your orders? It says hold here for 2 weeks and then take the main to the next interlock. Dispatcher, stopped and ready for another run. Over. Roger that. You're on your mark. Dispatcher out.
Train orders say hold the siding until 44 clears. Then we can take the main. He should be through any minute.
All right, I've got all 4 of these new SD70ACes programmed into a train in my legacy system. So we'll go ahead and start it up and move it out.
Dispatcher here. Start her up. Stand by for track orders. Over. Yes, sir. We'll fire her up. Out.
And you'll notice it's a lot louder now because I've got 4 of these things starting up rather than just 1. right, so there you have it, the latest Lionel SD70ACes. These things look great, run great, and sound great. I really can't find anything bad to say about them. They're fantastic. If you'd like to get one of these, the retail price is right at $600. Although keep in mind that if you go through a good Lionel dealer, you should be able to get a little bit of a discount off that retail price. And as always, if you're looking for a good Lionel dealer, try my favorite train store, which is Legacy Station. You can find them on the web at legacystation.com or give them a call at 770-339-7780. If you'd like to support this channel, I would greatly appreciate it. That can be done through Patreon at patreon.com/ericstrains. Patreon supporters get all sorts of perks and benefits, and you can read about all those benefits on my Patreon page. I'll put a link to my Patreon page in the description below. I'd like to put a big thank you out there to all of my current Patreon supporters. Your support means the world, not only to me, but to the future of this channel. And finally, if you'd like to buy an Eric's Trains t-shirt or anything else I might be selling, check out the Eric's Trains online store at ericstrains.com/store. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm Eric Siegel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Make it look like you're lifting something really heavy or something.
They are really heavy.